So I've been learning to juggle and it's not going very well. Apparently my little boy loves me juggling, but I'm not particularly good at it, as you can see. So I'm here today because I'm going to show you guys what I consider to be the best tool in Photoshop to remove anything from your backgrounds. And not just that, but to create smooth, silky selections as well. So there's a reason I made today's tutorial, and there's a reason why I thought it was important to share this information with you. And that's because I've looked around on YouTube and I saw so many different tutorials all showing you how to use different selection tools, which is great, and some of these videos are really awesome. All of these videos will only tell you about, say, why the pen tool is a great tool for making selections, and that's because it makes accurate selections, or why the lasso tool is a great tool for making selections because it makes quick selections, even though they are seriously untidy selections, and most times never use the lasso tool. And this leads me back to why I made this video. It's because I found a tool in Photoshop which I consider to be the best tool for making selections and cutting anything out of your backgrounds. And I'm going to reveal that in just a minute. Now, what you need to know about first is the Trifecta of Selections. That word means absolutely nothing, I've just made it up, but it sounds good. There is three main areas which you need to be taking care of if you've got a great selection tool. Number one, ease of use. You've got a selection tool which is complicated and difficult to use. You're probably not going to A, enjoy it, and B, want to carry on using it. So you want the tool to be easy to navigate, you want things to be really simple to use, so you can just pick it up, start using it, without having to know the square root of pi. So that's why ease of use is number one. Number two is speed. Now, this may seem a strange one, but imagine you're a freelancer. You may even be a freelancer, you may have your own website, and you haven't got the money to, hire someone to do all your Photoshop and photography work on the site. You've got to do it yourself. But you've also got lots of other different tasks in your everyday business which need taking care of. So you need to be able to do some of this Photoshop work yourself. If you're making selections, which is one of the most important things in Photoshop that you're going to be doing, you're going to need to make these selections quickly. So the third thing is accuracy. Now, you can have the other two, but if you haven't got accuracy, then you haven't got a good selection tool. If you think about it, when you're making a selection, one of the most important things you need is to be able to make an accurate selection around your subject or whatever you're cutting out of the image. So accuracy is at number three and probably the most important out of all of them. So we understand now the three most important things in a selection tool, which is great because each one of these areas are covered in this tool I'm about to reveal to you in 1 minute. Okay, are you ready for this? At last, for me to reveal this tool, which is going to cover accuracy, it's going to cover speed and ease of use. Okay, here it is, folks. It's the quick selection tool. Now, I can almost hear you saying, "What, Ben, are you mad?" And do you know what? You may think I'm mad, but I promise you, when you've watched this video to the end, and I've showed you how it can cover these three areas in Photoshop, and your mind is going to be blown. You're going to look at this tool in a whole new way, and it's going to be one of the go-to selection tools for you in Photoshop. I promise you. Now, ease of use. Well, let's answer this one first. So why is this so easy? Well, let's show you. There's only two things in the quick selection tool which I really use, and the two things can be found up at the top here, and the two things are a plus and a minus brush. The plus brush is to make a selection, so this is this bit up here. So you make a selection with this, so I'm going to show you how I do that. I'm going to click on that now. And then with that already highlighted, as you can see, I'm going to come down to the subject. You can see the plus in the middle of the brush. This means add. So I'm going to add to this to create a selection. So I'm going to click around the subject's head and watch what happens. The quick selection tool easily creates an outline and starts making a selection of the subject. This is what I want, okay? So what happens if I drag it outside here and I'm like, I don't want that covered, that's the background, I want to get rid of that. So I can simply come up to the top and click on the minus brush. Minus means subtract. Subtract means subtract from the selection. So all I need to do now is to click on this area I want to subtract from the selection, and it's going to subtract it. How easy is that to use? So that's all you really need with the quick selection tool. That's how easy it is. You can use the plus to add to the selection and the minus to take away from the selection. Number 2 on our list is speed. Now, you remember we talked about this earlier on, and we said that not everyone's got time to be making long selections which take ages and ages and ages in Photoshop. So speed is super important. Let's grab our plus brush again, and all I'm going to do here is I'm going to click and drag over the subject and quickly drag down like this, covering around the shoulder, down the arm, and then just dragging across her body, up her leg, and then up to the top of her arm and hand. Look how quickly we've done this. Now all I need to do now is just to get rid of this bit here. So remember, minus brush subtracts. So we want to grab the minus brush from up here. Alternatively, you could press Alt on your keyboard, that's the shortcut, and then just simply click and drag around here to take this away from the selection. And that's it. We've done this, and we've probably made a selection and subtracted from the extra bits of the selection in no more than about 20 seconds. I can't think of a tool in Photoshop that will do it quicker than that, with the contrast in the colours and with the details in the foreground and the background. And now we've arrived at number 3, which is definitely the biggest test for the quick selection tool, and this is accuracy. So let's test that now, and let's see if we can get the quick selection tool really accurate. So I'm just dragging down here with my plus brush very quickly, just making a super quick selection and just covering here at the leg. Now all I need to do is switch over to the minus by pressing Alt, and then I'm just going to subtract this from the selection. Okay, so that was really easy to do, and it was super quick. So that's the first 2 points we've covered there. Now let's have a look at the accuracy. The hair is pretty tricky, I think you'll agree, because it's quite fuzzy and it's a really cool hairstyle, I must say, but you know, it's difficult to take care of with a selection tool. So let's zoom in and have a look how it's done. So okay, so it's done a good job, but it hasn't done a great job, and because you can still see some hairs coming through the selection. But this is where it gets amazing, okay? Because when you couple the quick selection tool with select and mask, which is found here, let's click on that, you can refine this selection and make it perfect. So the quick selection tool is actually already inside here. Now, it's like Adobe are trying to tell us something, people. It's like Adobe have said, well, this is the best tool to use for making selections. And this is because Select and Mask is Adobe's go-to selection and refining tool. So you can just see that the quick selection tool is here. Look, there you go. I wasn't lying to you. Right, okay, so we're going to refine the edge now, and the first 2 steps I take in refining the edge in Select and Mask is to click the Smart Radius here, and then above we've got a radius slider. All I do is drag this all the way up. Now watch what this is going to do to the edge of the selection. Watch this now. It's going to pull out the hair like that, and already the selection looks a lot better and a lot more accurate. So the next step is to use something called the Refine Edge Brush tool, and this is something you can do pretty quickly usually. You just click on it here, that's where it is. It does what it says, it refines the edge. So we've got to make sure that the brush size is big enough to cover the edge, and in this case we're going to be covering the edge of the hair because this is the difficult part of the selection to take care of. Now all we need to simply do is just paint around the edge like this. And then when it's finished loading, doesn't usually take this long to load. Okay, Photoshop's had a meltdown. Just click OK. I don't know what's happened here. So if we just press cancel or click this off, let's make this happen again. Right, so I'm just going to do that again. I'm just going to paint around the edge like this. And this time, fingers crossed, it's going to work. Wait a little bit to load. I don't know why it's loading so much. And there we go. So you can see that it's refining the edge even more. I'm going to do the same with the other side, and this is going to balance out the selection to make sure it's refined both sides. Okay, and there you go. That's took care of that edge of the hair as well. So the fine edge brush is a great tool to use. Now I'm just going to take care of a few more areas as well. So there's a bit on the shoulder here. There's also a little bit down below the shoulder which we've missed. And I'm just going to paint over that. And finally, I think, oh yeah, there's a bit on the finger as well, a little white bit here. So I'm just going to reduce the size of the brush, and then I'm just going to paint over that with a Refine Edge brush tool. Brilliant. So the selection now is looking a lot better. You know, we've got it looking a lot more accurate. Now there is still a few things we can do with this to make it even better. So the next step I usually take in this process is to use something called Shift Edge. So what is Shift Edge if you don't know this? So Shift Edge is something where you can push the edge up to increase it or pull the edge down to decrease it. So let's show you what I mean. I'm going to grab the slider, which is positioned here, and if I push it up, look what happens. You can see that the selection's coming out. Now, if I want to bring the selection in, all I have to do is drag the slider down, and that basically brings the selection closer into the woman here. And you can see that's just tidied up the selection just that little bit more. Now the very final step I take is called Decontaminate Colors. Now I want you to watch what a massive difference this makes. Look at the edge of the hair, fix your eyes on that now, and I'm going to click Decontaminate Colors here and watch what happens to the selection. Wow, perfect. So you can see I've used the Refine Edge brush tool, the Shift Edge, and then finally the Decontaminate Colors, and look what's happened. We now have a perfect selection. I'm just going to click OK here, new layer with layer mask, and then we've got this on a new layer and it's got its own layer mask. Now there's a little bit down here I wasn't able to take care of, and it's a little bit I missed originally. That's my fault, that's not the tool's fault. I wasn't paying attention. So all I'm going to do is simply go along to my colours here, just toggle between them, make sure I'm on black, choose the brush tool, and then I'm just going to paint over this area to cover it up and hide it. Make sure your flow's on a little bit extra than 10%, that's not enough. And I'm just going to paint over this here with the brush, and this should get rid of it. Let's just make sure I flip this over because I've gone over this a little bit, so I'm going to use my white, press X to toggle between these, and then just paint over this little bit on the jumper. And also the leg here, it's a little bit on the leg as well. I must pay attention more. Okay, and that's looking a lot better. So that's what I consider to be the best tool for making selections in Photoshop, and it's based on the 3 rules that we've discussed: speed, ease of use, and accuracy. So, you know, if you had bad feelings towards the quick selection tool to begin with, maybe them feelings have been softened and now you feel more comfortable using it in future to make really, really awesome selections. Guys, I really appreciate you spending your time out of your day with me, watching me do these tutorials for you. If it's something that you've enjoyed, then please subscribe. I'd love you to join our community. Whatever you do today, guys, have a great day, and I hope to see you all again very, very soon.